Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Saritha. I am running for New York Attorney General. And today is really about listening to the community. It's about hearing from everyone in the Asian American community here in New York about how they're feeling, about what they think about public safety, and about what they think can be done better. We know the state of public safety in New York right now is not good enough. I was a federal prosecutor for 12 years. I was born in New York. I served my community in New York to protect New Yorkers and all Americans from crime and terrorism. But what we have seen in the last 7 years is that crime in New York has risen. Crime is up more than 26%. And in particular, hate crimes under our current Attorney General have doubled. Anti-Asian hate crimes are higher now than when she first started. That's unacceptable. We know just 2 weeks ago, an Asian American man was stabbed on the Upper West Side. And that is the latest in what is a series of attacks, assaults, and harassment and intimidation against Asian American New Yorkers over the last decade. We all remember the moment when Michelle Go was pushed onto the subway tracks years ago. The reality is, there was a point in New York a few years ago where 1/3 of victims of transit crime were Asian American New Yorkers. And even now, when you survey Asian Americans in New York, nearly half, 46%, think it is likely that they will be the victim of a hate attack. That means our community, much of our community, is living in fear. And fear is not freedom. Importantly, there is a way forward. The Attorney General of New York is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of New York. And the Attorney General has special jurisdiction to prosecute hate crimes in New York. Our current Attorney General, Letitia James, has never used that power, not once in 7 years. Our Attorney General's office has a hate crimes unit. I asked, how many people are assigned to that unit? And when their records came back, they said 0. The bottom line is, we have an Attorney General who is absent when it comes to prosecuting hate crimes. And our community, and every community, deserves better. When I'm Attorney General, I will protect every New Yorker, regardless of race, religion, or politics. And the reason I wanted to gather our community here today is to really hear from all of you. Because I know that since the last 2 weeks, we've had some coverage in the press and from elected officials about the hate attack that happened, but not enough. No victim should feel overlooked. No community should feel overlooked. And certainly when I'm Attorney General, no New Yorker will be overlooked. Thank you very much. I want to introduce Senator Steve Chang.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Senator Steve Chang. I'm extremely humbled to be here in the presence of Saritha Komatireddy and as well as Assemblyman Chang. Lately, about 3 weeks ago, the very same group of people that you see before you stood on the steps of City Hall calling out the misinformation that our governor and our mayor has been spewing onto the public of New York City and New York State alike, saying crime is down and crime is down and crime is down. I am sick of hearing about crime being down. At this rate, being down 10% every week, 6%, 5%, 12%, we should be down to 0. Soon the thieves should be giving you money back. So we all know that that's not very accurate. Me, as a former NYPD officer, also know I've been to ComStat meetings. I know how these numbers get fudged around, and the truth is convoluted. Now, today we're here to talk about hate crime. What Saritha said, I'm going to add to that. 1/3 of the crime victims in the subways, in our public transportation, are Asian. That's in comparison to less than 1/5 of our population being Asian. So according to the law averages, our victims in the subway should be less than 1/5 Asian, but it's not. It is the Asians being picked on. It is the Asians being targeted. Even when somebody is a radical shouting Muslim narratives and extremist narratives, he is hurting an Asian victim along with a member of our Jewish community. And this must stop. And the way to stop it is to prosecute people for hate crimes. Prosecute them as the crime fits. So what Saritha said is absolutely correct. We have a hate crimes task force in the NYPD. We have a hate crimes unit in our Attorney General's office. We have hate crimes in every district attorney's office. Let's put those units to use and prosecute crime the way it should be prosecuted. And me being a legislator, I need backup in Albany. And I need somebody with integrity, with fairness, without bias, like Saritha Komatireddy for Attorney General. I'm sure that Saritha is going to put that office to good use and actually utilize the hate crimes features of that office. Let's stand up for all of our communities, not just the Asians. I want to take this opportunity to try to unite our communities, not divide them like some other legislators and some other executives are doing. We need to be united, not divided. Let's love each other, respect each other, and look out for each other. Thank you. With that said, I want to introduce Assemblyman Lester Chang.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator Chang. Thank you, Saritha over here. And I'd like to thank her very much, Saritha, holding this press conference or this gathering here for awareness and also listening it up. Asian hate crime, I believe, strongly believe, is underreported, underrepresented, because our community are too afraid to report this, and I believe that many of the law enforcement may have misclassified to simple assault instead of in a higher standard of Asian. Now, there are other groups are being targeted as well. We cannot ignore that. But also, this kind of assault also transcends into schools as well, bullying as well. There are bullying in using Asian hate as a mask and underclassified. So we have to be aware of our community. Now, it's true that Senator Chang is correct. Without prosecution, we haven't had an example of why this Asian hate is being not reported, because we need to be effective. And I am shocked for what Saritha said, that Attorney General James has zero representation in terms of Asian hate, of hate crime. I'm surprised about that. I thought at least half a dozen or so, but somewhere that's not the priority. And I hope that you make that as a priority. And for our folks who looking at this press conference or this gathering, we must make aware our community that assault, Asian hate is also a reportable crime. We need everyone who has been assaulted, feel like they've been assaulted, come out and report to NYPD. We need you to report that and not to hide that, because without reporting, everything is fine. But it's not fine, and I do know that our community are very quiet. I know our community may not have legal status here, but do not worry about that, because the crime is committed, you're protected on that. So, Saritha, thank you very much to be here. And let me introduce is Christine Colligan of the Brooklyn Korean Association that represent here in Brooklyn. You have a word on this?
Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Christine Colligan. Until this spring, I was serving president of a Korean American Parents Association of Greater New York for 24 years, and since April, I become president of the Korean American Association of Brooklyn. I work in the school for many, many years, and also I want to point that out that Mamdani say that he's gonna arrest the Israeli prime minister. That's devastating, because older children listening, older people are listening. And last week, and simply I say that I was just shocked to find that out. 1 minute, same location, the Jewish victim was charged. He was charged as a hate crime, but the Korean victim, the Ko Sung, he was just charged as the felony. So this is already discriminate already because the Asian is not raising the voice, and also this is how they say. I really thank you for everybody's here, and we have to raise our voice, like you said, and even in the school, anywhere, people really don't report. And then this is really appreciate that, this is a good opportunity that we have to have a strong voice, and also things like that. Since the pandemic, you know how many people they're afraid to go out, and you know how many people they come to the church and they have like a stick. Even my vice president and me walk in the park. There's a lot of men carrying the stick because they're afraid that they might get attacked by someone. So now is a time to, because of quietness, it doesn't mean that we need somebody who concentrate on Asian hate and Asian crime. It doesn't make any noise, but this is a culture. But now it's time to do it. Especially I'm in Brooklyn present. I'm gonna make a lot of effort and encourage people. And many people, if the incident happen, also that the bully happening in the school, because a student hear what's going on, and parents and news that this is devastating. So I think it's very important that we have to raise this problem, and also I want to make sure even NYPD make sure that if it's a victim, it's a victim, not by the race, not by the religion, and it have to be equally respected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you all. Questions, comments,
anyone?
and anything you'd like. Let's have a discussion.
The shisha-based shelters, issue. So if a project, if a developer to describe a project as to the community as the supportive or the affordable housing, but ultimately operating as the shelter. So under what circumstances that the potential constitute is represented for, because they use the public fund for the supporting.
Right. We're talking about the building of homeless shelters in communities. Is that what we're talking about? I understand there's a lot of concern across the community about homeless shelters coming up in everyone's backyards, and I understand that concern. We have a real homelessness crisis in New York, and the way to solve it is to actually make sure that the homeless shelters we already have are doing their job. You're right. Homeless shelters take tens of billions of dollars in taxpayer money every year. You know that we as taxpayers spend $81,000 per homeless person in New York. Where is that money going? We don't know, because you can give someone $81,000 and they won't be homeless tomorrow. So the biggest problem right now with homelessness in New York is there's no accountability for the shelters we already have and the money we're already giving them. And before we start paying additional people with taxpayer money, we have to first figure out what's happening with the money we're already spending. Because we spend 3 times as much on homeless services now than we did in 2019, but homelessness has gone up, even though our population in New York has gone down. It doesn't make any sense. When I'm Attorney General, I will audit and investigate every homeless shelter in the state. I will make sure that shelters that we already have are safe from crime and drugs and sexual assault. And I'll make sure that we actually get people who are mentally ill and drug addicted residential treatment, because it's not enough to just put someone in a hotel. They're not getting any help there. And our taxpayer dollars are going to something that is not helpful, not helping anyone. So we got to give people safe shelters, residential treatment, and then enforce the law. Clear the encampments, clear the streets, make sure our communities, our subways, our streets are safe. That is the way forward on homelessness.
So Hannah, let me try to see if I got your question correctly, right? Yeah. Are you saying that are you asking Saritha what is she going to do about a developer who, under the guise of a affordable housing project, actually utilizes that project for homeless shelter?
I see.
So will the
Like
Attorney
deception.
General will investigate
Yeah.
that because they also use the public funding.
Yeah, you know,
to support it.
this is the thing. So the Attorney General's office, most people don't know all the powers of the Attorney General. The Attorney General's office has a real estate division and is supposed to be closely monitoring the building of affordable housing. And the Attorney General's office has a charities bureau that's supposed to be supervising every nonprofit in the state, which includes homeless shelters. But for the last decade, there have been a lot of red flags about fraud, exactly what you're talking about, embezzlement, excessive compensation, kickbacks. 4 people were just indicted federally for taking kickbacks in connection with the homeless shelter contract. The problem is the person who's supposed to be looking into all these things is the Attorney General, and our current Attorney General doesn't even look. My commitment is that I will take a look. I will make sure that when taxpayer money goes out the door for a specific purpose, it's actually serving that purpose. And that will make a huge difference in everything in New York. It's going to make, if we're paying for affordable housing, we should get affordable housing. If we're paying for a homeless shelter, we should get a homeless shelter that takes people in and moves them to stable, independent living, not turns them back out on the street. You know, if we're paying for any other government service, Medicaid, then we should get Medicaid. We should get health care for our seniors and our elderly. It's in area after area right now, New York State government is failing. It doesn't work for us, it works against us. It's the Attorney General's job to turn that around.
So can we get back to the question of
Please.
the hate thing?
Yeah.
Okay, the shelter is the shelter thing.
Yeah.
Right, you did that.
I'll take any question.
Yeah. So going back to what he said, right, we don't report that much. You call me, I stop talking because I have to look at the camera. We call her, she's more important, right? He's right. Our people do not report anything, and there's reason behind that because it doesn't go anywhere. Because you mentioned certain group, if you say something to certain group, right, it's a hate crime, automatically a hate crime. When the Asian thing is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, right? I gotta recall her for recording me.
Okay.
So as the Attorney General, how are you gonna change that? I know you need them to change the policy, the rules.
It's not
right?
a policy.
And then second,
Yeah.
right, are you gonna revisit all the hate crime toward Asian in the past X amount of years that she was in office and she didn't do anything about it?
Yeah. Hey, that's a good question. But here's
I know they pay me to ask that question.
the important part of this answer is that it doesn't require a change in policy.
You can't get out.
Just want to
We
make sure
got
it's not
this,
ours.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I don't think-
It doesn't require a change in policy, right? What you're saying, whether something is charged as a hate crime or not, that's a matter of prosecutorial discretion. The prosecutor decides. Leadership like that starts from the top. The Attorney General should be a prosecutor. We don't have a prosecutor right now as Attorney General,
agree.
right? The Attorney General should be a prosecutor who has experience in these areas, is respected by other law enforcement partners, by the sheriffs, by the DAs, by the public defenders, and can set a tone and say, listen, you know, we have an issue here where an entire community is not being recognized. We need to see if we're actually treating everyone fairly. That's the Attorney General's job to do that. It's written in the law, and she doesn't do that job. I see this as well, and I see the statistics substantiating it, that many Asian Americans are afraid to report crime in the first place, let alone report it as a hate crime. And part of that is a desire to keep quiet. Part of that is a desire to just not stick your neck out.
They're going nowhere.
And part of that is because they don't see a benefit. You're right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we have to change that with leadership at the top. That's the reason I called this event today. This is happening because we made it happen. You know, with Assemblyman Chang and Senator Chan
The second
and
piece of my
Christine.
question is,
Yeah.
Are you going to revisit,
Yeah.
right, everything that wasn't looked at for
Yeah.
the past X amount of years and revisit those cases again?
Yeah, that's a totally fair question. Listen, when I'm not Attorney General yet. When I'm Attorney
you will.
General,
I think you
I will
will.
take a look at every open case because that's the job. When I'm Attorney General, we'll take a look at what we have open and do what's right based on the facts and the law.
You know, what Alvin Bragg may, who knows, maybe classify as a hate crime. A few months later, he'll downgrade that to a regular felony assault. Downgrade that to a disappearance
That's
ticket.
exactly what happens.
You know,
Yes.
so
That's what I'm getting.
So
Yeah.
that's where the
That's
crime
what I'm
rate goes
getting. That's
down.
what I'm
I mean,
getting.
this is the problem with our current officials, whether it's whether it's Alvin Bragg or whether it's Letitia James. Our current officials treat the entire pursuit of justice as a political game. You know, you're talking about one person's charged as a hate crime and the other's not. That's because of politics. That's because they are listening to the press coverage or the political outcry and responding to it instead of looking at the facts and the law and doing the right thing. I come from a culture of federal prosecutors that knows the correct direction. You don't worry about the politics, you don't worry about the press coverage. You have your decisions should be driven by the facts, not by politics. And if you do that, then people will be treated equally.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? You should feel free to share your experiences.
Legislation-wide,
Yeah.
I think there's enough right now, both federal and state, to cover the definition of what's hate, but it's just a matter of lacking of the will to enforce and see it right through to trial.
Right.
Because if they were to downgrade this, then the statistic there is no hate crime.
Well, the downgrading happens all the time. To your point, Lester, you know, just last week it was revealed that the individual who attacked police during the winter with ice and snow, charges against him were downgraded significantly. And it's not assault on a law enforcement officer anymore. It was downgraded to obstruction of governmental administration because the press coverage has subsided and the pressure is no longer there. That's what happens when you have politicians in the job instead of prosecutors.
That's sad. That's very sad.
I think also need to be the training for the city and the state, because sometimes they don't know, they get so used to, they have like a stereotype of Asian, they don't really make complaint or they don't really do anything. I think we need to have like a whole citywide and statewide training for how to deal with the Asian related the crime. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.